A honeymoon is a very special event. Some are better than others, and of course, some are more exciting. Presumably, some of them are more successful than others. Either way, it is traditionally an opportunity for a man to get to know his wife better, and vice versa. At least that's the theory, but of course in our modern world, it is rare for a man and woman to walk down the aisle as virgins. No, and we weren't either. However, that doesn't mean that on my honeymoon I didn't learn things about my wife that I never would have expected. We lived together for almost 2 years when we decided to make things official. It was a combination of pressure from her parents and the thought that one day we might start a family. It all made sense. Even the tax situation would improve. And here we are, alone at the registry office with her parents Tom and Brenda. Mine lives too far away to make the trip. A few other friends, a couple of them were witnesses, and that was it. We didn't want to make a fuss about it and didn't think it would change us much. June loved me and I loved her. That's it, John, her father Tom told me afterward. You really are part of the family now, boy. I've felt part of the family for quite some time, Dad, I replied happily. You and Bren were like parents to me, considering my parents live overseas. Hey, man, he continued. You better go with her, otherwise you'll miss your flight. Do you want to take them off? Take them off yourself, June laughed in response. Okay, honey, we have a deal, I shouted and started chasing her around the room until I had her cornered by the bed. Oh, please, kind sir, June begged me cheerfully. Be careful with me if you are going to use this terrible weapon, because I don't know how to handle it. Not so, I replied, dropping the accent. She couldn't, or at least decided to spare me. But it was close. Damn close. We not only missed breakfast, but also lunch, but a couple of burgers from a cafe in town quickly solved this problem. We then headed to the beach, me in my baggy swim shorts and June in her bikini. Have you noticed how over the years girls' bikinis have become smaller and smaller, and men's swimwear has become larger and wider? Ah, no, not really, I stammered, unable to hide my guilty smile. Liar, June accused me, and we both laughed. That blonde has bigger breasts than mine, my wife asked jealously. Do you think that girl with the big breasts and the older man has silicone? My breasts didn't sag like that woman's, right? Are mine as tight as hers? The question was whether they were bigger, taller, rounder, all those questions where you weren't sure what answer she really wanted to hear. Loving her as I did, June had a habit of acting too hastily, without always considering the consequences. It was never a major issue, but damn. Why? Do you want me to take off my top too? It's really what I wanted, and while June did have a great body, the last time we were on vacation together, it took a whole week to convince her to go out in public in a bikini. Why not, dear, I replied calmly, crossing my fingers behind my back. Don't you like that all these men see my breasts? She accused me. With that, she unclasped her bra, took it off, and threw it on my bag. Satisfied, she demanded, but I didn't answer. My joyful smile told her everything. Showing off her breasts in public for the first time obviously turned her on as much as it did me. Better put some sunscreen on them, I suggested, hoping to grab a tube. This time, however, the nature of the questions has changed. That dark-haired guy over there looking at my breasts, John, was the first of them, to which I replied, probably, I would look too if I were in his place. Those 2 young guys have passed by twice already, John. I think they've had a good look. That blonde guy turned to face us, John. I'm sure he did it so he could see my breasts better. I'm sure that hairy guy over there keeps looking at me, John. I bet those 2 coming towards us will stop nearby, John. They keep looking at me. And so on, and so on, and so on. Admittedly, June's breasts were nice enough to make it worth the effort to look at them, but the beach was full of naked breasts, damn it. Then she sat down and leaned her hands back. Yes, it was no coincidence that this made her breast stick out nicely as she stuck her chest out. Even I doubled my gaze. What the hell are you doing now, June? I asked quietly. Trying to get those 2 over there to pay attention to me, she replied without a trace of guilt. Do you really want them to look at your breasts, June? Yes, of course, John, June said quickly, as if choking with excitement. I've never dared to do this before, and it's more exciting than I could have imagined. I really like the idea of strangers staring at my bare breasts. Do you mind, dear? Well. Let's be honest, guys, shall we? It was a little disturbing, sure, but sitting there while your beautiful wife showed off her breasts to the world around us was actually quite arousing. It was like I was approving something obscene that I shouldn't have allowed. Women aren't supposed to bare their breasts in public, are they? Of course not, but like other couples around us, June and I played a game of pretending that normal rules didn't apply on the beach. So here was my wife with her breasts exposed for everyone to see, and somehow it was acceptable. Exciting, really, especially the first few times they did it. As an opportunity to tell everyone around that they can look as much as they want and be jealous, but they are actually mine, all mine. However, before I could continue my answer, June interrupted me. Oh my God, she whispered, her mouth open in surprise. Imagine, oh my God, look at this. What? I asked in amazement. Those two guys, she answered quietly without looking at me. The one on the right is horny. Look, John, he's horny. Not an invitation I would like to accept for a variety of reasons. They looked at me when I stuck my breasts out at them, John. She continued excitedly, her face flushed. That guy winked at me and I could see how excited he was. June was thinking out loud, as always, but I had to look. Of course I had to look. Two posers sitting there in their little skimpy swim trunks, bucking the trend of most of the other guys on the beach. Without a doubt, they had to be French. Oh God, look, John, June exclaimed in delight. No, don't look, oh God, my God, look at this. What the hell are you talking about, June? I demanded more harshly, starting to get annoyed at her comments. Look, John, look, she said in a hoarse voice, addressing me as if I were not there. I didn't want to look. No, I didn't want this, but perhaps you can imagine my difficulty. So I looked. I regretted it. He really was huge. Damn it, stop fucking staring, June, I begged my new wife. This is fucking awkward. But I caused it, John, June countered thoughtlessly and too loudly. My bare breasts caused it. Well, by this time I was tired of it. Come on, let's go, I told her. I've had enough sun for today. Let's go get something to drink. I'm not particularly thirsty, dear, June replied, not taking her eyes off the Frenchman, who seemed to be lavishly showing off his muscles to my fascinated wife, whose eyes seemed glued to the top of his swimsuit. We're going, June, and we're going now, I insisted, gathering our things and preparing to leave. I'll be there in a minute, John, she whispered without even looking up at me. You'll go now, June, I almost shouted at her, grabbing her arm and lifting her to her feet, June reluctantly obeying and grabbing her bag. We walked a few steps along the soft sand when June stopped to look behind her. A plustard, ma petite, that big Frenchman shouted to her, and she blushed deeply. No way, I muttered angrily under my breath. What the hell was that, June? I asked her accusingly as we walked back along the beach. Have you seen the size of John? She replied, not seeming to realize how much this upset me. I've never seen one this big, and it was my bare breasts that caused it. Overexcited damn Frenchman, I barked at her. You made a fool of yourself, June, and embarrassed the hell out of me. Aren't you jealous, John? June looked at me with a worried expression, finally realizing how much she had upset me. Yes, June, I'm jealous, I quickly responded. Jealous, embarrassed, angry, and humiliated. But you were the one who wanted me to show my bare breasts to other guys, John, she protested. You're the one who asked me to do this. I like the idea that you were sunbathing topless instead of sticking your chest out in front of some damn foreigner. They're not foreigners, John, June corrected me. They are French, and we are in France. Who cares? I groaned as we continued our walk along the beach. You showed them, June, deliberately exposing yourself to them. Why not? She retorted sharply. These are my breasts, and I will show them to whoever I want. And so our argument continued for another 10 minutes. We weren't arguing, but we were throwing barbs at each other. Neither of us was talking meaningfully, but each of us was trying to score points as we walked back to the hotel. About then I noticed that several people were looking at us, almost staring. We were both so engrossed in our argument that we did not notice that we had walked along a shopping street, the beach already 100 yards behind us. Then I understood why. "June, for God's sake," I shouted at her. "What are you doing?" "What's wrong now?" she answered angrily, assuming that I was egging her on to something new. Then she realized why everyone was looking at her, in fact. "Oh my God, where is my sweater?" she screamed when it dawned on her that she was walking along a rather busy street still naked from the waist up. We were both so engrossed in our discussions that we didn't notice it. "Where the hell is my jacket?" she repeated, frantically digging through her bag, which I let her rummage through for a few moments before I gave in and took it out of my bag. "Why didn't you tell me, John?" she almost screamed, trying to pull the t-shirt over her head. "Nice breasts, beauty," shouted a young guy passing by in the company of a couple of friends. June, now covered up, looked at me as if she was about to explode, but although the situation was quite tense, I could only smile stupidly in response. "You liked it, didn't you, scoundrel?" she accused me. "Yeah, I liked it," I admitted, after which June couldn't stay angry any longer and we both laughed. Hand in hand, we walked back to our hotel, occasionally bursting into laughter every time we tried to talk about what had happened. It definitely helped us overcome our little conflict, and by the time we got back to our room, we fell into each other's arms and ended up on the bed where June immediately took off her cardigan again. "Nice breasts, beauty," I told her, trying to imitate her previous admirer's comment, and again we both laughed. Not that that stopped June from starting to unbutton or remove my shorts. No, all was well again between Mr. and Mrs. Banner Parker, and this time we were almost late for dinner. The next day we booked a tour and went on it. We spent a wonderful day exploring the vineyards of the Médoc region and tasting their products, and we also ended the day with others shopping in the center of Bordeaux, one of the most impressive cities in France. Full of history, full of atmosphere, full of wonderful boutiques, and of course full of wine. By this time we had already had a bit to drink, and without needing to drive back we took full advantage of it. "How about this sweater?" June asked me, holding in her hands a beautiful black transparent lace thing that she pulled from a rack in the last store we went into. "It's beautiful," I agreed, nodding my head, noticing that the price tag wasn't exorbitant. "This will look good on you on the beach." "These are not beachwear, fool," June laughed, the amount of wine already visible. "This is evening wear." "Evening clothes?" I asked again. "There's some fabric there, isn't there?" "It shouldn't be," she informed me with a smile. "But everyone will see your bra through it, June." "They won't see it if I don't wear it," she pointed out mischievously. "Oh shit, yes, we bought it." That evening, back at our hotel, I began to notice a side of my new wife that I had never seen before. My sweet, rather seductive wife was coming out of her shell. She had already shown this on the beach the day before, but I accepted that I might have overestimated the situation, not being used to this new, very sexy Mrs. Parker. Life could get exciting, perhaps. Not quite sure how I felt about it, but we were on vacation, so why not? "What do I look like?" What a question. June stood in front of me in sexy black high-heel sandals, followed by long tan legs until her little denim skirt began, which covered, but barely, her firm buttocks. Then the jacket, yes, the same one that we bought earlier. "Are you really going out in this?" I asked, noting the obvious fact that she wasn't wearing a bra underneath. "I'm not sure, John," she replied, nervously looking at her reflection in the mirror. "How much can you really see?" "You mean besides your breasts?" I clarified. It actually wasn't that bad, and at a casual glance, most people would never guess how much she was actually showing off. But still, June was beautiful enough to justify more than a casual glance. Damn, she looked so sexy. "Should I change my clothes, John?" June asked, uncertainly, now that it was time to go out. "I think the effect of 6 glasses of excellent Bordeaux has already begun to wear off." "I really like the way you look in this," I admitted. The thought of her walking around the city with so little coverage gave me a shiver of nervous anticipation. It felt like I was sharing the risk and excitement of this moment. "I'm not sure, John," June hesitated. "If someone looks closely, they can see everything I have." It didn't bother you at the beach yesterday, was my obvious retort. It was the beach, John, she pointed, making a face. Now we're talking about walking around the city. Well, it's pretty dark outside, June, I protested. But it will be light in the restaurant, won't it? June continued. The thought of going out like this excites me, John, but I don't know if I have the courage. Perhaps you could take the stole over your shoulders, I suggested, strangely eager, despite my previous misgivings, for my wife to appear in public in such a revealing outfit. You can put it over your chest if someone gets too close. Good idea, she agreed, and with a mischievous smile she did just that. It was a great night. No, really, that was it, and the stole didn't last long. She kept it wrapped around her for about 10 minutes after we left the hotel, and then it slowly slid lower and lower. You're showing your breasts, June, I warned her, feeling oddly uneasy and unsure now that we were actually doing it. I know, darling, was her only answer. It becomes obvious every time you walk under a streetlight, I pointed out. I know, John. You get a lot of looks, darling, I muttered, my heart pounding. I was more worried than she was, but for some strange reason I actually enjoyed it. I know, dear, do you mind? If it's all the same to you, June, I said hoarsely, my eyes everywhere as every man we passed turned their attention to my wife. Then I'll get rid of this thing, June said, putting the stole away in her bag. I can't get him to stay on my shoulders properly. It wasn't true, not at all, but I didn't challenge her little lie and watched as June became more and more bold, arching her back to highlight her otherwise not very large breasts and even deliberately slowly walking past illuminated store windows, fully aware that men were looking at her and her half-naked breasts. Oh my goodness, my shy little wife has become a bit of an exhibitionist. Should I say a little? At first, the restaurant waiter couldn't take his eyes off June's chest area every time he served us, and then the bartender did the same. June sat for most of the evening with undisguised delight on her face. Several guys tried to talk to my wife every time I left her alone, but she quickly returned to me. They looked annoyed I liked it. They were looking at your breasts, June, I informed her. Yes, I know, John, she answered. Fun, isn't it? Actually, funny, great evening. I discovered how exciting it is to see a whole crowd of men maneuvering to get a better look at my wife's breasts. I never thought I'd like it so much, but I do. I just never thought I would enjoy spending an evening with my previously unadventurous wife so much. Then later, back at our hotel, well, I could describe it, but it's a little personal. Let's just say that we have reconsecrated marriage in grand style. Damn guys, life has been great. The next morning we headed back to the beach for our last full day of sunbathing. The sun was shining brightly, the sea was shimmering, and I had a beautiful and sexy woman on my arm. How could life be better? We walked down to the beach, wading through the sand until we found a spot that wasn't too crowded. June immediately stripped down to her little blue bikini and smiled at me. This bare-breasted thing started to become a habit. Oh God, she was beautiful. Her body was beginning to take on that beautiful light golden hue like that of a young, slender princess, naked except for a small strip of material hugging her graceful hips. I felt so happy that she was mine, my everything. You know that feeling when it feels like your heart is about to burst out of your chest with pride? You know? So am I. We sunbathed for a while, read and joked with each other about some of the other people on the beach, imagining what they do in real life. That's it. It was almost perfect. I noticed a few passing men looking at my wife and her naked breasts, but this no longer bothered me, and of course I even enjoyed it, quite happy that I had one of the most attractive girls on the beach that day. Do you want to go down to the water? June asked me calmly. Not necessary if you don't want to. I'll just finish this page, I told her. Go if you want. Okay, she replied, standing up and brushing off the sand. I'll just go down and take a dip in the sea for a while. Okay, I'll join you in a couple of minutes. Okay, she replied. I'll just go away for a while. See you in a minute. There was nothing special about this conversation, was there? I'll just go away for a while. See you in a minute. That homely phrase will come back to haunt us both. The problem is that I was deep into the latest Tom Clancy book I was reading and was desperately curious to see how the newest president would get out of his latest scrape. June left, and other than admiring her beautiful round ass as she walked away, I went back to my book. It might have taken 10 minutes, but I suspect it was longer. I read to the end of the exciting chapter and finally put the book down. Now, where is June? I sat up and looked around, eventually checking the edge of the water to see if I could spot her. No woman alone, but maybe she was in the water. Standing up, I looked up and down the edge of the water, trying to find her. I wasn't worried or anything. I didn't think she drowned or anything. Then I saw a splash of blue, the same shade as her bikini. She offered no visible resistance, and I felt sick as I saw her bare breasts pressed against his bare chest, and God knows what was pressing on her bare stomach. It was made worse when I saw him lean in, and I saw quite clearly their lips touch, just for a moment, very briefly, but the damage was done. I walked in their direction, stopping when I realized our belongings were scattered all over our towels, our camera, June's wallet, all of it. So where are they? I felt a growing panic. My stomach tightened and my pulse quickened. Eventually, I spotted 3 heads in the water, about 20 feet from shore. Was it them? Was it them? I had no idea, but I rushed to the water to try and see what they were doing there. By this time they had reached the floating pontoon boat, which was anchored about 100 yards from the bay, and I watched in disbelief as one by one they climbed onto it. 2 guys took June by the hands and threw her into the water. As she climbed back up, these rascals played, letting June push them to the edge, only to dodge at the last moment, their hands carelessly sliding over her as she chased after them. When one of them finally allowed himself to be pushed out, the other grabbed June from behind and threw her to the floor of the pontoon. Shame on this. In desperation, I turned to 2 young teenagers who were diving into the waves as they crashed in, glad they understood English. Can you swim to that pontoon for me? I almost begged them. Oui, monsieur, they replied. Mais pourquoi? I explained to them that I wanted them to convey a message to the girl who was there, telling them to demand that she return to shore immediately, urgently. But that did not happen. My heart sank like a stone when I saw 2 young boys rush back into the water, chasing each other and swimming back towards me. What happened? I demanded, abandoning all attempts to speak to them in French. What did she say? Girl, she doesn't say anything, monsieur, the first boy told me. She was, as you say, otherwise busy. What? The man asked me to give this to you, the second boy chimed in, handing me something so I could take it from him. Oh, hell no, please no, please no. With tears of disappointment in my squeezed eyes, I took the tiny piece of blue fabric from him, gripping June's bikini bottoms angrily in my hand. She has the same beautiful breasts as a girl, I heard one of the boys say. Oh my gosh, have you ever felt completely alone in a crowd of people? Well, that's how I felt at that moment, surrounded by happy revelers running and laughing and playing, and me there, miserable as sin, just wishing for a tidal wave to rise and swallow so many of us. I even considered trying to swim out there, knowing that if I drowned trying, bloody June would have to live with the consequences. But if I'm lucky that day, one of those damn frogs will probably dive in and save me. And how humiliating will that be, I ask you? I was about to turn away in disgust, but finally I saw one of the men on the pontoon get up and dive into the sea, followed by June and his friend. I watched anxiously as the 3 heads bobbed up and down as they made their way back to the shoreline, stood there impassively as the boys reached the beach first, and watched as my new bride emerged like Venus from the surf. June slowly emerged naked, laughing loudly, calling out to her 2 new friends, running up to the big cock himself and hugging him, so attached to her little world that she was still oblivious to my presence just 10 yards away, or so far away. They kissed, not for long, not long at all, but long enough. The sight of my wife naked in the arms of another man on a public beach made me want to puke. The sight of his hands roaming freely over her naked back and ass made me want to burst into her with fists flailing. But I had only taken 1 step towards them when his friend tapped him hard on the shoulder. Attention, Francois, I heard him say urgently. Husband, he's still here. The bastard slowly let go of my wife and turned to me, grinning. "Vate fair, monsieur," he told me, stepping back from her and bowing theatrically to me. It was only then that my dear loving wife realized I was standing there. John, she muttered, raising her hand to her mouth. What are you doing over there? I mean, I was just coming back to you. You didn't have to look for me, darling. Oh yeah, I'll just go away for a while, see you in a little while. Isn't that what you told me when you left? You didn't mention anything about letting two French guys have you while I waited, did you? Have me, June screamed. They didn't touch me, John, I promise you. So what have you been doing with them on the damn pontoon all this time? I'm just saying, John, I swear to you, she pleaded. All we did was talk and stuff. And I assume you had to take off your bikini bottom to have this innocent conversation? I challenged her. Oh crap, June cried, apparently remembering for the first time that she had stood and argued with me, completely naked, only just becoming aware of the fact that a small, mostly male crowd had gathered to watch our mutual embarrassment. Where are you stupid bastards? June growled at the two frogs, extending one hand towards them as she quickly used the other to try and cover herself. They both didn't say anything, just grinned back at her. If it weren't so disgusting to see, it could almost be funny. Where's my damn bikini? She shouted to them, attracting even more attention from those around her, and more people stopped to watch the fun. Me, June, I finally said, by which time you could see her blush showing through her tan. Thank God, John, she breathed, taking a step towards me. Please give it to me, darling. If you want it, go get it, you bitch. I muttered through clenched teeth and turned around, gloomily heading back to the beach to the place where we left our things, expecting that at any moment she would grab my hand or something like that. But she didn't. Turning around, I saw that there was some sort of argument going on, as two Frenchmen seemed to be trying to convince her to go with them, and a couple of women who were in the crowd around us seemed to be advising her otherwise. To hell with it. After gathering up every single one of our things, I prepared to leave the beach, turning around to see if June was following me, only to see that the argument was still going on and June was still completely naked. To hell with it. If it took her so long to decide whether to go with me or not, then I would leave without her. So I did, although I only reached the trees that bordered the beach and stopped. The magnitude of what had just happened finally caught up with me like a train and I sank to the ground by the tree, emotionally exhausted. This is the end? Is this the end of my marriage that has barely begun? What the hell am I going to tell Tom and Brenda? Don't worry about me. I'll be back soon. That's what she said. What a farce. I sat there feeling like a zombie, noticing June at the last moment as she walked up to where we had been sunbathing earlier, barely covered by a small towel, probably borrowed from one of those women who seemed to be trying to talk her into something. Sound mind. June stopped and looked around, her face a picture of amazement, when she realized that I had left and not taken her with me. I watched as she looked around, her panic clearly rising when she couldn't see me, asking another couple nearby if they had seen me. They saw, of course, but they pointed her in a completely different direction, which must have confused her even more, since she just stood there with her mouth wide open. I could help her, and maybe I should. I could have screamed, but I didn't. I just sat there enjoying my pathetic revenge. Eventually, June's shoulders sagged and, with tears in her eyes, she headed back down the beach. She might have gone looking for the French, but I was so angry that I didn't care. I didn't care at all. June disappeared from sight, a pitiful, lonely figure, and I headed back to our hotel, wondering how long it would take for her to return. I wonder what she will say when she returns. I wonder how much she will cry and sob. I wonder how I can keep from crying. 2 hours later I calmed down. I can't say I was happy, but I calmed down. Maybe it was stupid to let her go again like that, but I did it, so be it. Another hour, no June, and it was time for dinner, but I couldn't bring myself to go to the hotel restaurant alone, so I headed into town. There I found a bar and mostly forgot about dinner. The local press ion turned out to be a quite worthy substitute for food. 3 or 4 more beers over the limit, and I left the bar, staggering down the street back to our hotel, debating with myself whether I wanted June there waiting for me or not. What would I say? What would she say? Then I noticed a fight up ahead, and there was June and her 2 bastards, standing in the middle of the road, making one hell of a scene. The three of them were screaming and yelling at each other at the top of their lungs, June in a very, very short dress that I had never seen before. While I was watching, a van pulled up and two gendarmes jumped out and tried to calm them down. I think in most countries it is not customary to hit a police officer in the face, and France is no exception. First June, and then her two friends were unceremoniously shoved into the back of the van as it sped away with the siren blaring. Well, damn, that was unexpected. Walking slowly back to the hotel, I didn't know what to do. Go free her, maybe, or just leave it there. Well, what would you do if you were me? It took me an hour to decide, which wasn't such a bad idea since it gave the beer time to dry out. In the end, I persuaded the concierge to call the gendarmerie on my behalf, making up some story. They let her go, monsieur, the concierge told me with contempt, hanging up the phone. No doubt she's heading this way. Without a doubt, I agreed, although I was not so sure. I wasn't sure of anything anymore. Well, she wasn't back by the time I went to bed, and I tossed and turned all night wondering where the hell she could be. The sun rose, and she was still not there. Shower, then breakfast, and still no wife. By then I had to go back to our room and start packing. Remember those lonely times when you were packing your things at the end of your school or university year? Everyone has left, and you are the last one left and have never felt so alone. We were never sure that life would be this much fun again. This is nothing compared to how I felt when I packed my things into my suitcase. My things were packed, and I sat for a while, wondering what to do with June's things. I couldn't just leave them there, but what should I do with them? Tears of despair and grief in my eyes, I slowly packed June's things too, resisting the urge to just throw them away. Damn it, I shouldn't have done this, not at the end of our honeymoon, damn it. But where was June? I have no idea, but despite everything, deep down I was worried. Could I really just abandon her in a foreign country? But what else could I do? Arriving at the airport an hour early, I looked around, hoping to see my wife waiting for me. There was no trace. I returned to the airport car park, started the Twingo, and returned the car to the rental company, then checked in for the EasyJet flight back to Blighty. Where was she? What the hell do I do now? The lump in my bowels felt heavy, like a lead weight. Hello, John darling. I turned around, and there she was, wearing the same ridiculously short dress she'd worn the night before, but looking fresh and like she'd just taken a shower. I was silent. Hi, John, she repeated, looking at me pleadingly. Sorry, honey, I couldn't find you. I was at the hotel all night. Where were you? I demanded, but she just shrugged, unable to answer. She didn't even mention the problem with the gendarmes. Had sex with those two again, I guess. I barked at her. I told you, John, she retorted angrily. I didn't do it. But you let them touch you, didn't you? A little, she admitted quietly. Sorry, John, but I drank too much and got carried away, honey, she whined. It didn't mean anything. Can you give me my ticket so I can check in, and we can discuss this when we're in a more private place? It's in your suitcase, June, I told her. Where is my suitcase? June asked, looking around. At the hotel where I left him, I chuckled. Where? June screamed loudly. Why did you leave it there, you stupid idiot? How could I know whether you would show up at the airport or not? I was pleased to point out to her. I haven't seen you since yesterday. I don't have time to go back and get it, John, June said, dissatisfied. How can I get on the plane? That's your problem, not mine, June, I pointed out. You should have thought about this sooner. But I returned to the hotel, dear, but you were already gone, she sobbed. Francois and Jean-Claude brought me here to the airport. Well, ask them to come back and pick you up, I suggested to the helper. I can't, she continued to sob, tears streaming down her cheek. They flew back to Paris 10 minutes ago. Our conversation was suddenly interrupted by an announcement that passengers on the flight should head to the departure lounge immediately. I'll just go away for a while. See you in a minute, I told her, almost laughing, although I think the meaning of those words was lost on her as I picked up my bag and left. But John, she cried, grabbing my hand. You can't just leave me here alone. I don't even have money. Shaking off her hand, I took out a few euros from my pocket and placed them in her hand. Here you go, June, I said with a straight face. That's enough for a taxi and your credit card is still in your suitcase. With that, I left for my flight, leaving my newlywed standing there, sobbing and begging me to come back. No way. Damn cow, you can no doubt imagine. On the flight home, I was in a bad mood, and when I arrived home and entered our empty house, which was supposed to be our joint home for life together, it seemed so uninviting to me. I went to work the next day but didn't tell anyone what happened because I still didn't know how things would work out in the long run. I knew June to be an honest person, so I believed her more when she told me there was nothing wrong with them. But she let them do other things, and perhaps more important was the way she simply abandoned me. I just couldn't stomach it. Then June's mom, Brenda, called that evening, and June still didn't come back or call. Hi, John, she began cheerfully. How was your honeymoon? How exactly was I supposed to respond to this? With truth or lies? It started out good, Brenda, but the end wasn't great, I replied, testing my words as I thought about what to say. Oh, she said, not taking the hint. The weather turned bad. Not really, Bren, I said. I'll come by tomorrow after work and explain everything. We chatted some more and I carefully avoided her questions about June. I prayed that by the next day June would call them or come back so I wouldn't have to be the one to explain everything to them. Sure enough, the next morning my phone rang. John, Tom began. What the hell is going on, boy? We just got a call from June to pick her up at the airport this evening. Sorry, Tom, I replied. I thought this might happen. But what's going on, John? Tom sounded puzzled. It's hard to explain now, Tom, I lied. I have people here. Okay, John, he replied, clearly confused. We'll meet her and talk later, boy. Damn, it wasn't easy. I loved June's parents as if they were my own. Maybe even more, since I haven't seen mine very often over the past 10 years. A sense of hopelessness began to overwhelm me and I walked out of the office to give myself a chance to recover, with no idea how my life would turn out from now on. The call came. This, of course, had to happen. It was Tom again. Big confusion about all this, John, boy, he greeted me. June told us that you went too far because of some guy. She got home then, I asked. Yeah, boy, he replied. But she's not happy. What did she tell you, Tom? That she was flirting with some guy and you went overboard, Tom told me. I'd tell her to tell you the whole story if I were you, Tom. Yeah, he answered sadly. She's been sitting in her old room crying since she came back, so we don't know much. But we know you well enough to know that you don't lose your head for no reason, John. We'll talk tonight and I'll call you back, you. Okay, thanks, Tom. Don't worry, boy, we'll try to deal with her. Deal with her, huh? Well, who knows? The next day there were many phone calls between Tom, Brenda, and myself, and I eventually agreed to meet June in the pub that evening, where I hoped no one would recognize us, to discuss what had happened and whether we had a future. She swears she didn't sleep with either of them, John, my father-in-law told me in the last call. She's a stupid girl, but she doesn't lie to us, she never has, and I believe her. Depends on what you mean by sex, I pointed out, but I'm inclined to agree that she didn't let them screw her, Tom. Not the words I would use, John, he finished abruptly, but please give her a chance, boy. I will, I agreed. I was still very angry about what she had done, and it was difficult for me to calm down. Nevertheless, if you've never been in this situation, then you don't understand. If you have never experienced such heartache, then you do not know what it is. My God, I had decisions to make, but I couldn't make them until I met June again. I can't say that I wanted this. And so, I walked into the bar, and there she was, June. She stood up slightly when she saw me, and gave me the most wonderful smile of greeting. She was wearing the same little denim skirt I like so much and a nice, but more conservative blouse than the last time she wore it. She looked great, but if she thought she could handle me so easily, then she might be right. I ordered you a pint, she chirped. I know what you like, and that's kept guys from trying to talk to me. Well, that's a good start, huh? So you're back, was my first remark. I was halfway to forgiving her if she really seemed repentant, but that didn't mean I was going to go easy on her. Without your help, John, she began, how could you do this to me? How could I leave you? I exclaimed indignantly. How the hell could you leave me the way you did? You disappeared, June. You disappeared for the whole night, the last damn night of our honeymoon. But you went away and left me on the beach, John, June objected. What was I supposed to do? Is it amazing, I demanded loudly, after you were on that damn pontoon having sex with those two French guys? I told you, John, between us. So why did you take off your swim trunks, June? I attacked her, or did they take them off for you? It just happened, John, June mumbled, making a face. We were just talking and having fun, to be honest. You were lying between them completely naked, and you're saying that they didn't touch you. Oh, John, June began hesitantly, I told you they touched me, but only a little, it was nothing serious. Besides, I was angry at you for leaving me on the beach. We stared at each other, neither of us seemed ready to admit that we were wrong. The conversation has reached a dead end, so you think you didn't do anything wrong, June? I finally asked, relatively calmly. Well, maybe I did something, John, my wife admitted, but you went completely overboard, John, you shouldn't have acted like that. So if you were me, June, I asked, you wouldn't mind it, would you just wait for me? Of course, John. Okay, I thought, let's put this to the test, let's see how she actually reacts. Standing up, I leaned towards her and stared straight into her face. I'll just go away for a while, see you in a minute, I told her, choosing my words carefully. Her face changed as she finally recognized the words I had used, letting out a small scream as I walked towards the bar, straight towards the tall, slender blonde I had spotted a few minutes ago. Hey, Melly, I greeted the blonde sitting on a bar stool. Her micro-mini skirt and skimpy top were so different from what she wore during the day at Jones & Company, where we both worked. Oh, hi, Mr. Parker, Melly smiled at me. I've never seen you here before. I've never been here either, I confirmed. Well, I'm really glad you found this place, Mr. Parker, Melly told me seductively, making me think that this might be easier than I thought. Can you do me a big favor? I continued. Anything for you, Mr. Parker, Melly exclaimed. Blinking and turning in her chair to face me, a smile of anticipation on her very attractive face. Jesus, that skirt was so short, and I swear I saw. No, I couldn't see. Of course, she had to wear something underneath. Phew, well, these young girls today, the way they go out in the evening, nothing should be surprising. But it was surprising, damn it. What happened, Mr. Parker? Melly asked cheekily, no doubt knowing from my expression which part of her anatomy I had just noticed. What service do you want? A sip, big breath, and continue. I want to make someone jealous, Melly, I explained simply. Can you just take my hand and walk out of the pub with me? No problem, Mr. Passes Parker, the beautiful blonde readily agreed, sliding out of her chair, confirming my earlier analysis of her lack of underwear when her dress caught for a moment and almost gave me a heart attack. But we can do it better. With these words, she pressed herself close to me and snuggled under my arm. My hand was dangerously close to her left breast as we headed towards the exit. As soon as we got outside, I thanked her and was about to leave, but she wouldn't allow it. Come on, Mr. Briquet Parker, she coaxed, giggling as she pressed her full breasts against my chest. If we're going to make someone jealous, let's at least do it properly. I think it was those firm breasts pressed against me, or perhaps it was the smooth expanse of bare skin I felt when my hand, accidentally, slid just below the hem of the back of her tiny skirt. Anyway, what the hell was the guy supposed to do? Should I return to my somewhat errant wife after I gave her a taste of her own medicine as planned, or continue to enjoy the use of that very medicine? Which choice? Well, what would you do if you were me? Help me please, as I will have to make a decision in a few minutes. That is, if Melly ever lets me have my tongue back. If she unzipped me any further, I might be trapped. Oh shit, subscribe to our channel, so that your love doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think, click to the next one.